All right. Luke, I'm sorry. I've done a lot of talking on the show today, but I knew you were going to basically take over when we got into this next topic. Intel was caught fudging benchmarks in their M1 versus Core i7 11th gen comparison. This was posted by Jetski on the forum, and the original source here is macrumors.com. Luke,
okay,
what is going on here?
We have to get through some of the talking points on here that aren't like super enthralling. Like you've heard the title, right? Intel caught fudging benchmarks in M1 versus Core i7 11th gen comparison. Cool. That's honestly like pretty much all you should have needed to know if there wasn't the interesting ending. So I'm going to go through the talking points anyways, and then we'll get to the interesting part. So just stick with me. Intel is trying to promote its Evo branding of laptop standards against Apple's M1 successes. The campaign started with cherry-picked benchmarks that Intel published early this week, much to the consternation of Apple fans. Very nice writing. The benchmarks showcase the limitations of the early part of Apple's transition, comparing gaming, accessory compatibility, and performance in very specific tasks. There's some quotes here about the differences between the two devices, as well as, let's see, Intel's performance claims need to be taken with a certain grain of salt.
Yeah.
This is a quote. As they're Intel-created tests and not industry-standard benchmarks, the fact they switched out between the Pro and the Air for battery life, that's kind of scummy, as well as the Core i7 1185G7 and the Core i7 1165G7 also shows an incomplete picture. And I mean, that's just, yeah, swapping those laptops out is just ridiculous.
Yeah, that's pretty suspect.
This has happened before. We've had Intel kind of being not so clever with messing around with benchmarks in the past. This is not new. Today, the company unveiled Twitter promotional posts, which ended in Go PC. There's a few examples of that, but
Go PC.
Here's the
PC kind of world today, Luke. You know?
Here's the fun part.
Okay.
The Twitter adds link to a sponsored video by Jon Rettinger explaining the Evo talking points.
Oh.
And I want Linus to watch it.
You want me to watch this?
Because Linus hasn't seen it.
I haven't seen this. I haven't even heard about this.
The comments and the like to dislike.
Okay, just hold on. Okay, can I preface this by saying I like and respect Jon Rettinger a lot?
He's great.
He has been a pioneer in the tech, or not has been. He is a pioneer in the tech YouTube space. He's absolutely still around. He's still going strong. He's one of the people that like I grew up following, right? Like I followed in his footsteps. You know, he created the model in a lot of ways for like making a YouTube channel a business.
One of the first people created, got me to
was very early
when we started working together. Was Jon Rettinger. So he's not talking out of his butt here.
Yeah,
you just got to watch it.
Okay. So like no disrespect, John. I'm gonna watch this now. I'm like I'm kind of afraid to watch it live because you have not been making me feel good about what I'm about to see. Okay.
I'm trying to hold back. I don't want to say anything about it. You just got to see it.
Okay, hold on. Let's just, you know what? I think it's very unlikely John is going to copyright strike us, so let's just watch it together, okay? Okay, your new laptop for 2021. All right.
I mean, it's unfortunately kind of long, I think.
So I'm pretty vocal about using M1 like Mac pretty much since launch. And for a lot of uses, it's been
Do I have to watch the whole thing?
And awesome.
No, maybe skip through it.
Computer, I realize there's still a lot of stuff that it either doesn't do right now or just doesn't do at all. So Intel reached out to see if we wanted to talk about their new Evo platform. Gave us no guidelines on things we could say or not say, just to check it out.
Are you getting the vibes yet?
Kind of a narrative since Apple announced their own silicon that like Intel's out of the race.
You look uncomfortable, Linus. What are your thoughts? What are your feelings right now?
And I think that couldn't be further from the truth. With the Evo platform, you're getting just a ton of stuff that you just can't get from the Mac. So when you go to buy a laptop, really any laptop, not necessarily even an Intel one, sometimes hard to figure out like which computer's got what, and are you getting the best of whatever you're looking for. So what the Evo branding is, essentially took the most important specs and told any manufacturer who wanted to make an Intel-based laptop that if you want to have the Evo branding, it's got to meet these minimum requirements.
Okay. Okay. So I think I follow so far. We've got like the kind of Apple sound-alike music. You know, it kind of gives me like a back in the like, man, like late 90s like iMac, do 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 do, or however that thing do 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 do, you know, like that kind of like Apple music kind of vibe, like kind of like a think different kind of thing,
like mildly sassy almost.
yeah.
Not actually, but like a little bit. Like, yeah, we're kind of like better and we know it, and we just, you know.
I just okay. Here's the problem. Here's my problem. Intel's Evo branding initiative is actually not a terrible thing. So
it's a lot better, in my opinion, than what NVIDIA's been doing.
Like Centrino, way back in the day. And that honestly is where now we haven't covered Evo extensively. We really haven't like worked with Intel on it much. Most of the stuff we've been doing with them lately has been on desktop. So I haven't actually seen the Evo talking points other than I think we talked about it briefly in like a review of Intel's like reference Evo platform laptop that they're selling through XPG and then a couple of other resellers. So Evo, like what is it? Basically, yeah, it's like Ultrabook or it's like Centrino. It's another kind of like platform branding thing that they're doing. And there are things in there that I think are meaningful and important. For example, your machine has to be able to wake from sleep in a certain amount of time. It's one of the things that drives me crazy about my XPS 13 2-in-1, or is it 12? Whatever. The 2-in-1 that I have is that it often takes a very long time to wake from sleep. You have to meet a certain standard with respect to battery life. You have to use key Intel components like Centrino. Centrino was a game changer back in the day because a lot of you might not remember this, but in the early days of Wi-Fi, there were a lot of cheap wireless chipsets that low-end laptop manufacturers would throw in their machines that were a very bad experience. I'm talking back in like the Wi-Fi B days. And so Intel created Centrino to force manufacturers to do three things: use an Intel CPU chipset and, in my opinion, most importantly, wireless chipset. And what this meant was, compared to if you were using, like, remember, this is back when AMD didn't have anything competitive. So like a Turion processor with some craptastic Wi-Fi chipset. So you'd have like terrible battery life, terrible Wi-Fi. If you bought Centrino, you knew you were going to get at least some measure of decent mobile experience. And I think that's what they're trying to do with Evo. The problem here is that John, bless him, bless his heart, love him, Pioneer, again, should not be the spokesman for like Intel and PC, in my humble opinion.
And honestly, that's what felt like the main problem to me as well.
The way that it came across, like, I know John is an avid Mac user. The way that it came across did not feel very sincere.
And I think a big part of the problem too was that a massive focus of the video was like, these are the ways that it is better than the M1 specifically. Like it was digging so hard at the M1 more than it was talking about how cool Evo is in its own. It did both for sure, but it mostly felt like a M1 sucks video than it felt like a Evo is great video.
And there's another problem here. M1 does not suck. And as good as Evo laptops battery life might be, and I saw some criticisms of the video that I really just didn't think were fair. Someone's like, oh, all he says is great battery life, but he doesn't provide any numbers. You can't provide exact numbers for an entire lineup of laptops. Every manufacturer is going to put a different watt-hour battery into the machine. Like, just by its diverse nature, a PC or like the PC ecosystem cannot be as simply represented as the Mac ecosystem. But that, for a lot of people, that's a good thing because it means more variety of price points and more variety of performance depending on what you need. And yes, more variety of battery life. Maybe you don't want to spend another $100 on a 99.9 watt hour battery that's going to give you, with an Evo platform, really great battery life. Maybe you're happy with a 56 watt hour battery and like kind of, you know, good for a 56 watt hour battery, but not amazing battery life. So that, I don't think that's really fair, but I also think that it smacks of, I don't know. I don't even want to find the right word right now. It's not to say that M1 is anything but very competitive. It is not a great marketing message. The best marketing, in my opinion, is to focus on your own strengths and just not discuss the problems with your competitor. That's how you market your product. You don't market your product.
So you lead with strength instead of like
on someone
just
else.
Look weak,
right?
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. I don't want product marketing to become, no offense, American politics. Talk about your platform. Don't just crap on why the other person is wrong. Present your ideas. And then if you happen to agree about good ideas, that's okay. Let's stop treating it like every idea that the other side has is bad just because they had it. If Team Red versus Team Blue, and whether, I could be talking about PCs, I could be talking about anything right now, okay?
Sure.
If Team Red's like, you know what, a really wide high interconnect is a great idea. If Team Blue automatically said, we should have more bottlenecks, just because Team Red thought that a wide interconnect is a great idea, that would be stupid. And we should all, be able to recognize that that's really stupid and agree on basic things, okay? So and like even just the opening with the like not being able to plug into Type-C, it's like, I agree that's a problem. I had that problem today, okay? I wanted to plug in a USB thumb drive while we were doing Andy's Intel Extreme Tech upgrade, also sponsored by Intel. To be clear, I love Intel, work with them all the time, okay? And I wanted to plug a thumb drive into my XPS, right? And I was like, because I was in the middle of something and like I was in a hurry trying to get to WAN show, and I was like, I have to go get this dongle. I'm so mad. Like, to be clear, I get it. I understand that frustration, but I was using a PC, wasn't I? It's not like the PC doesn't have this problem, okay? This is a 20s problem, okay? That computers have gotten too thin to put a Type A. Actually, they're not even too thin to put a Type A. Manufacturers just are not putting Type A's on them because they've gotten ahead of themselves a little bit. To be clear, I love Thunderbolt, love Type-C, but that doesn't mean we're ready to say completely goodbye to Type A. But to pretend that this is a uniquely Mac problem is just...
I could be missing something, but I don't think there's anything in the Evo standard about including Type A ports.
No, not to my knowledge.
So there's probably Evo laptops that are going to have the exact same problem.
Right.
And as much as I like to hammer on, I've done it a lot, as much as I like to hammer on Apple for connectivity things, I think they have issues with this like across a few of their different products. Not the right place or time, in my opinion.
So...
video didn't really hit the mark, and it missed the mark enough that it hurts the campaign a bit and just doesn't. Yeah,
you know what it smacks of?
A little problematic.
You know what I smell right now? I smell an advertising agency. If I had to guess, I would put money on it that instead of this being John and Intel representatives who really know their products and know the state of the market, this smells like the kind of thing that came through an agency that doesn't really understand what's going on. And I'm on the record saying this before, and there are exceptions. And if you're an agency that works with Linus Media Group, hey, you're an exception. Maybe. Most agencies, most agency marketing representatives have just absolutely no idea what they're talking about. They have absolutely no business being involved in tech marketing, and they should frankly just step out of the way, stop taking their worthless middleman cut, and leave it to the experts. Like I was on the phone with AMD about something really exciting that we've got coming up. We're working with AMD, Asus, and MSI on a really cool initiative. Luke knows about this because he's had to make some, the Floatplane team has been working on some cool development stuff for me for this. It's really exciting. Anyway, I was on the phone with AMD and they basically were like, okay, hey, like, okay, last thing from our upper management, we just need to know if you can like message it in this way instead of, and I'm like, what do you think? I'm some kind of amateur? Like, I don't know how to message something correctly. And I cut them off. I was like, don't even finish that sentence. Here's how it's going to be messaged. They're like, wow, that's exactly how it should be. I'm like, I know this is not my first kick at the can. The problem is you get like, you know, I'm just gonna, these are random names, okay? These are random names. They're nothing to do with specific people that we've worked with, but you get agency Sarah, okay, or agency Jeff, who know absolutely nothing about computers. They know nothing about AMD or Intel or NVIDIA or Apple or anything. And all they know is whatever stupid marketing deck that agency, you know, Charisse put together for them and handed to them. And they start getting involved and they're like, actually, Linus, we don't really want you to say it that way. And I'm like, that's nice. That's great that you don't want me to say it that way, but that's the honest truth. And, you know, ethics aside, from a legal standpoint, I can't say anything that's not true or that I don't believe. So you're just going to have to step aside and I'm going to message it however I want. And if you don't like it, then we're canning the campaign. And honestly, that's how the conversation goes with these agencies more often than you guys would probably believe. And the stupidest thing about it, we actually are responsible for a major brand canning their agency about a week ago because they were just, it was such a cluster, them trying to get involved in the messaging and in the content creation. As soon as they were gone, we get on the phone with the brand representatives directly. We're like, okay, here's the reason we have to do it this way because of the competitive landscape and because we don't want to market anything. We want to put your product in its best light, but we don't want to misrepresent it. That's good marketing. We want to communicate the positives of your brand and of your product without putting down anyone else and without misrepresenting it in any way. And they're like, that's exactly what we wanted to do. No, I'm not done here. They were like, yeah, that's exactly what we wanted to do. And the entire campaign was saved. The problem was solved. It's agencies. I bet, you know what? I bet he's in my phone book. I'm going to call him right now because I want to know. I'm pretty sure I have.
Just while you're dialing,
do I not have
for the Sarahs out there that are currently feeling very negative.
Who's feeling negative?
For the various Sarahs out there. There have been times where we've worked with agencies and it's been good. I would definitely say it's not as common as it being bad, but it has happened. Yes, it's usually individuals. It's not the agency in general. You'll run into an individual and they like actually really care.
Yeah,
it's not that common.
But the thing is, so here, part of it is just the nature of the industry, right, guys? Because you got to understand, if I'm an Intel or AMD, NVIDIA, Microsoft, Google, whoever I am, like I'm a tier 1 player in the tech space, okay? I've got this agency to handle my marketing stuff because there's a variety of reasons that you might do that. One is that it adds a degree of separation from the messaging. So if something does go wrong, it's someone to blame. It keeps them off your payroll. So if you need to scale up or scale down your marketing staff, it's a lot simpler to hire or fire an agency than to hire or fire a team of people to work within your company. Like, there's reasons that you use agencies, but from the very nature of that relationship, agencies tend to get the talented people sucked out of them because they don't pay particularly well compared to actually making something, whether it's content or whether it's a product, right? So they're inherently a middleman. And if you're talented, what's going to happen is, because you have this direct exposure to fish that can pay way better and better opportunities, you're going to get sucked out one way or the other. So you just end up with a lot of the really good people in agencies getting pulled into work permanently for the brands that they represent, or for the media companies that they work with. Like, when we encounter a really good agency representative, we had a really good one with LG for a long time. If it wasn't for the complications around, bringing someone into Canada, for example, to work, that's the kind of person where, as like a brand representative on our side, we would strongly consider just hiring them rather than putting out like a job listing on our website, because we already know that they get it, right?
They get it, yeah.
Because it's not as simple as just coming up with talking points and making sure the influencer says them. You have to actually follow through. You have to think this thing through and make sure that it makes sense and that it's not going to create backlash, right?
Honestly, my favorite people to work with were just people who, they were facilitators, you know?
Yes.
They would just very expertly get out of the way. They would make sure that what the company needed to get done was, like, at the very least getting done, and then they'd let you just style and do your thing. That was fantastic, and there was a few of them, and they were amazing to work with. But yeah, they weren't that common. Usually it was people that were like, no, I need to like leave my mark, leave my influence on this project. So I'm going to like try to force this thing to happen or force this thing to be sad or whatever else. And it was just a pain. It's horrible.
I don't have John Rettinger's phone number, unfortunately. But I'm just gonna ask him. I'm just gonna ask him my one simple question. I said, you around? Just one question. That Intel video, through an agency or dealing with Intel directly? Says doing family stuff right now. That's fair enough. Hold on. He's typing another message though, because my first message. Oh, okay. He says, I think it was Intel directly. Oh, okay. Yeah, I'm surprised. I'm just gonna say usually they're more savvy than that. Okay, well, all right. Well, I don't know. I mean, it all depends, right? A company that big, you're gonna have people that like really get it. Like, I've met people that every like, I think, brilliant idea that I pitched them for like cool stuff Intel could do for enthusiasts, they already pitched it 5 or 10 years ago or whatever, like just really dialed in. Like, I'm pretty sure water cooling fluid runs in their veins. So you find people like that, and then you find people that are just like, I don't know what's gaming. I'm just like a numbers person, right? You have any group of however many like thousands and thousands of people work at Intel, you're going to have some that like really get it and some that don't. Oh, yeah. Okay. I don't know if I can talk about this. Can I talk about that? I'm kind of live. Yeah. Okay. So we're not going to talk any more about that. Clearly that was a bad experience. But you know what, guys? Do me a favor, okay? Go check out Jon's channel. He like only recently, like what was it, about a year ago, I guess, broke off from Techno Buffalo, which was his baby, and he's been making some really good stuff. I don't want this one video to color your experience with him. because he's done some really, really cool stuff since he picked it back up and started producing videos on his own again. So go check out his channel. It's just John Rettinger now. It's not Techno Buffalo or anything like that. Go subscribe. He does some really cool stuff. He's got like car videos, TVs, phones. I mean, he's been in the industry so long that there's kind of no limit to what he can do.